We must be the shield that safeguards the civilized world from those who wish to do it harm. No matter how or where our enemies strike, no matter what defense they cower behind, Team Rainbow must stand ready.
During a time when games like Evolve and Battlefront are criticized for being online-only games with very little content, Rainbow Six Siege stands as the worst defender. With basically just 2 game modes, a terrible player base, and a frustrating learning curve, this is, while technically a good game, probably the worst experience I had in 2015.
Our intelligence has confirmed the existence of a new threat that is unlike any we have seen before. This organization has the ability to carry out attacks anywhere in the world.
This is a game that lacks a story and doesn't present anything the more you advance. When you start up the game, you are shown a cutscene explaining the Rainbow Six team, who they are and what they are hired to do. The basic idea is that they are an anti-terrorist force and the answer for bomb threats, hostage situations, and clearing out enemy holdouts. But other than something that sets the stage, there is no story to speak of after that. It's just something that is introduced to give reason or motive. Since Siege is the highlighting feature of the game, we'll discuss this first. There are 2 teams for each game, defenders and attackers. The defenders are tasked with protecting an objective by fortifying their position. They can do this by reinforcing walls and setting up barricades. They must then survive against the enemy team by either wiping them out or waiting for a time to expire. The attackers must then try and locate the objective and either eliminate the defenders or complete the objective, whatever that may be. Objectives can be one of 3 different scenarios. There's hostage, where an NPC must be extracted. Bombs are when the defenders must defend 2 different bombs while the attackers attempt to defuse just one, and then there's secure the area, which is self-explanatory. The thing is that what inevitably ends up happening is that each game boils down to a team deathmatch. The objectives simply serve as a location for which the defenders must set up. Sure, you could argue that bombs is harder for the defenders who must defend 2 different locations instead of 1, while hostage is a little bit more of a fragile situation since the hostage can die, but none of this is relevant in the end. While not unheard of, the objectives are very rarely the cause of one team winning or losing. 9 times out of 10, the game ends because one team was entirely eliminated. I will give credit for this. I liked how differently you were forced to play depending on what side you were on. As a defender, things are more tense. After setting up, you kind of have to just wait for the attackers to make a move. You'll be sitting there in silence, unsure of where the attack will come from. You may hear noises in the distance like footsteps of an enemy running in the halls or explosions that shake the room. As an attacker, you are a little bit more jumpy, slowly walking down corridors and leaning across corners while also keeping aware of traps that will quickly end you. Attackers must be slow and methodical, utilizing their drones to scout out areas for any dangers while also communicating with your teammates about anything that they need to watch out for. The destructible environments also made for dynamic maps. In this respect, the game shows its good side. Another thing that I liked was how each different operator had something unique that they brought to the table. As you complete games, you will accumulate the game's currency known as renown. They can be spent to purchase additional operators, and operators are divided up by attackers and defenders. On the defender side, you'll find Rook, who can place down armor for his allies. There is also Castle, who can use reinforced barricades, Capkin for traps, and many others. For the attackers, there is Thermite, who can use the thermite charge to blast through reinforced walls, Glaz, who is the team sniper, and Sledge, who can use his breaching hammer to quickly and quietly get through barricades and weak walls. Depending on who your operator is and how you play them, you can really turn things to your advantage if you properly utilize the special assets a specific operator has. But here is where things take a turn. For all the good things that the game has going for it, I found it is severely overshadowed by negatives. As I mentioned before, the game has a terrible player base. What that means is that you may be matched with players who aren't good sports. This is nothing new to the world of video games, but what sucks about Rainbow Six Siege is how friendly fire is always on. Let's assume a certain scenario happens. A teammate is disappointed with your performance, and they decide that the most appropriate response is to kill you. 3 separate times I have been killed by members of my own team. It might have been because I made a mistake or for no reason at all, just because I happen to be playing with jerks. In a game when I have to be wary of my own teammates or am forced to watch one teammate kill another, that is not a fun time. In addition, you may be incapacitated by enemies only to be completely ignored by your teammates. It doesn't matter if you can be revived, some people cannot be bothered to pick up your slack. You can't sit here and say that if I was simply better at the game, then I wouldn't have such a bad time, but with a game that must be played a specific way, some things are easier said than done. Outside of the siege mode is Terrorist Hunt, where players are put up against AI units. Once again, you can either be an attacker or a defender here. As an attacker, you just simply move throughout a map and systematically eliminate every single enemy. As a defender, you just fortify an area around an objective and defend against waves of enemies. You will also need to be aware of suicide bombers and enemies with riot shields that are thrown in to keep players off balance. This mode is fine assuming you are playing on a higher difficulty because normal is just too easy. Then there is the situation mode, which is basically a glorified tutorial. These are put in place to simply have players understand the rhythm of the game and how it should be played, while also giving players a chance to practice with the abilities of certain operators. These solo missions can be fun, but as I said, they are just put into place to serve as practice. Is that how this game is going to go? We're killing allies? No, stop! What the frig? No, no, no. I'm a good guy. Alright, we're not doing this. Seriously? What just happened? In the end, the frustrations I had with this game far outweigh any enjoyment that I managed to find. The game is severely lacking in the way of game modes and is nowhere near worth the full price of $60. While it does show signs of positives in how the existing mechanics are executed, there just isn't much there overall, and what is there is overshadowed by some horrible experiences. I have more bad memories of this game than good ones, and as a result, I can't sit here and say that Rainbow Six Siege is worth your money. If you want to experience it, I would highly recommend renting it or borrowing it, and also, play it with friends. Thank you guys for watching this review of Rainbow Six Siege. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on any new videos. If you wish to see another review just like this one, go ahead and click this link here. And if you want to see more awesome cool stuff, check out some of the links in the description below. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you next time.